Just before we get into it, I want to say a massive thank you to Fairphone for sponsoring today's video. Can you be sustainable and have a smartphone? An estimated 6.6 billion people own a smartphone. Considering there are around 7.7 billion people in the world at the time of writing, this is a huge proportion. The smartphone is not like any other product we buy. Few people would say they are addicted to their car or their TV or even their laptop. But up to 47% of people in the US say they are addicted to their phone. There's even a name for it, nomophobia. On average, we pick up our smartphones 58 times a day, and we spend over 3 hours each day swiping and tapping and typing. For many of us, our smartphones have become indispensable. But the impact of smartphones can be felt even before their shiny screens become well acquainted with our fingerprints. It's fairly well known by now that the manufacture of smartphones raises all manner of environmental and ethical questions. The fundamental problem is that along with being incredibly resource intensive to manufacture, most smartphones are designed to have a lifespan of only a couple of years. We are familiar with this pattern now. We as consumers have come to expect very little in terms of lifespan and repairability, but many of us tolerate it because we are enticed by the latest iteration, whether it's better camera or more slick design. The blow of slow down handsets and diminishing battery life is softened by the offering of something newer, shinier, and most importantly, something that makes your current phone look old. Sure, you'll have to pay through the nose to get the new one, but why would you want your old one anyway now? There is nothing like the release of a next generation iPhone to make yours look and feel like a Nokia 3310 from the early noughties, although these are apparently very trendy now. But why can't we just upgrade our phones every couple of years if we want to? Well, we can, but there is a price to pay, both for the environment and for the people you will likely never meet. Other content creators such as Gitameri have already made excellent videos on the environmental and social impact of smartphones more generally. I'll link a couple in the description. So I want to focus specifically on the enigmatically named rare earth elements that are used in every smartphone, what they are, how they are sourced, and some exciting advancements towards a more sustainable approach. So first of all, let's talk about what are rare earth elements. Rare earth elements are a set of 17 metallic elements with names such as neodymium, gadolinium, and praseodymium. The first rare earth mineral was discovered in 1787 by Carl Axel Arrhenius in the village of Ytterby in Sweden. The funny thing about rare earths is that they are not, in fact, rare. Cerium is the 25th most abundant element on Earth, making it as plentiful as copper. There doesn't seem to be a consensus on why they are called rare, but it may have something to do with how difficult they are to separate out and process. Rare earths can do lots of useful things. Some are used in high-powered magnets, others accentuate certain colours on our screens, some are even used in anti-counterfeiting technology of the euro banknotes, as they are fluorescent under ultraviolet light. It's only been in the past 20 years or so that these elements have become so important in modern tech, to the extent that we now take them for granted. The demand has already doubled in the years since 2006 to 2021, and it is expected to quickly outstrip supply. One of the interesting things about rare earths is that they can be found all over the world. Despite this, China dominates the rare earth supply chain, but it wasn't always like this. The USA was the first country to work out how to separate rare earths. And from the 1960s to the 1990s, the Mountain Pass mine in California was the world's largest supplier. Mining and processing rare earths releases toxic chemicals into the environment, however, and by the turn of the century, US environmental regulation became so stringent that it was simply not worth continuing the mining at Mountain Pass. Since the 1990s, China has invested heavily in research and processing of rare earths. Without stringent environmental and labor regulation, China has been able to flood the market with huge amounts of rare earths at the lowest prices. Unsurprisingly, China's enthusiasm for rare earths mining has come at a cost. For every 1 ton of rare earths processed, 2,000 tons of toxic waste is produced. To the west of the Chinese city of Baotou is a giant lake filled with this waste, a grey, radioactive and toxic sludge. There are abnormally high cancer rates in the surrounding areas. people get sick, livestock get sick, and crops no longer grow. But who is responsible for the environmental impact of rare earth mining in China? Should the West have to take some responsibility for buying these materials in such huge quantities from China? We want the benefits of rare earths, but without the impact in our own backyards. So what do we do? What do we do when we have already become reliant on materials that are not only bad for the environment, but are also finite? Sounds like a familiar problem, no? Well, how about recycling them? This is one option. But the recycling process is energy intensive and produces its own pollution. How about an alternative way to extract these materials without the associated environmental impact? A team at Rice University in Houston, Texas has been working on recovering rare earths from fly ash, which is left over when coal is burned. But isn't it a problem that this relies on burning fossil fuels? Well, we actually have enormous amounts of this ash left over from many years of burning coal. So there is huge potential for this method. There are many other projects like this aimed at addressing the issue. The irony with rare earths is that they are also known as the green elements because they are used for magnets in electric cars and generators in wind turbines. It seems somewhat paradoxical to decimate the environment mining for materials that are used in technology designed to reduce our impact. At this point, however, it is a question of following the least worst approach. There is no ideal solution. Having said this, BMW's 5th generation electric motor does not use any rare earth materials. The motor features in its latest i10 M60 its most powerful electric car to date. Renault's Zoe model also does not use rare earths, and many other car manufacturers have been seeking alternatives to rare earths in recent years. This move away from rare earths in EVs may be more about China's stranglehold over the market and its willingness to use this as a political bargaining chip, rather than concern for the environment. Either way, it's a step in the right direction. But what about smartphones? It doesn't seem like rare earths in phones are going to go away anytime soon. So what can we as consumers do to make our smartphones' use as sustainable as possible? As Fairphone often says, the most sustainable phone is the one you have in your pocket. This applies to so many things in sustainability. As much as possible, use what you already have. There are some tips and tricks that can make your phone last longer. Number 1. Delete all the apps that you don't use. Be brutal. You can always re-download it if you actually need it. Unused apps, especially if they are running in the background, can slow your phone down considerably, making that next generation version more appealing. Number 2, have you heard that your smartphone has more bacteria on it than a toilet seat? Regularly cleaning your smartphone according to the manufacturer's instructions, especially the charging port and speaker grill, will not only keep the bacteria in check, but will help prolong the life of your phone. As much as possible, keep your phone away from sand, dust, and moisture. Number 3, battery anxiety is real. Try to avoid running your battery all the way down before charging. A good rule of thumb is to charge when you have about 30% left. If your current phone is no longer usable and you can't repair it, the best thing you can do is to recycle it. So that's step 1. The next step is to consider which new phone you are going to buy. Buying refurbished and secondhand phones is a good option. But if you require a brand new phone, then the Fairphone 4 is the most sustainable choice that you can make. Not least because it uses recycled rare earths. The Fairphone 4, unlike most other smartphones, is modular. This means that it can easily be repaired if one of the parts or modules breaks, which is fantastic. The website iFixit has awarded the Fairphone 4 a 10 out of 10 for repairability. But it's not just possible to repair. It's easy. Most parts can be replaced with a standard Phillips screwdriver, and you can buy spare parts for a reasonable price directly from Fairphone. No fancy tools are needed or incomprehensible instructions to follow. Fairphone wants you to repair your phone because the longer you keep it, the less of an environmental impact it has. And that's something that they care about. But you won't find yourself constantly having to replace parts in your Fairphone 4, as it really is built to last. It comes with a 5-year warranty and has expected longevity of 4.5 years compared to 2.5 for other smartphones. The Fairphone 4 also features a micro SD card slot, so you can increase your storage without upgrading the whole phone. Fairphone really is pushing hard against the dominance of planned obsolescence in the tech industry by pioneering a more responsible approach and prioritizing the longevity of their products, both with repairability and longer-term software support. There are more than 40 different materials in a smartphone, all with their own supply chains and social and environmental impacts. Fairphone are currently focusing on 14 key materials to ensure these are sourced from fairer mines or, post-consumer recycled. This includes recycled tin, rare earth minerals, plastics, and conflict-free and fair tungsten in the Fairphone 4. Fairphone is the very first electrics company to integrate Fairtrade Gold as well into their supply chain. The Fairphone 4 is electronic waste neutral, meaning that for every phone they sell, one is recycled or refurbished. And of course, the packaging is plastic free as well as being optimized to be reused to send back your phone for the Fairphone recycling program. All of this responsible sourcing of materials and consideration of environmental impact has earned the Fairphone 4 a TCO certification, the leading certification for tech products. In addition to this, Fairphone is making strides to improve conditions for workers in their supply chain by addressing systemic issues rather than simply papering over the cracks. Their initiatives in these areas are too many to name, but for example, in their Uganda Gold project, Fairphone teamed up with charities and NGOs to tackle child labour and improving working conditions for miners. Finally, Fairphone's living wage program means that their final assembly workers receive a $1.99 bonus for every Fairphone 4 they complete, which works out across the year to about 1 month's extra salary. Making a sustainable and ethical smartphone choice does not mean that you have to sacrifice on performance. The Fairphone 4 features 5G, Android 11 operating system, dual cameras, and excellent battery life. If you want, you can change the operating system to E if you want something privacy focused. I'm a huge fan of the Fairphone. It's easy to use, it's got a great screen for watching YouTube whenever I want to catch up on all of the other creators that I watch, but also I just love the fact that it's repairable. This is one of the things that we should be striving towards when looking at how we can be more sustainable with our smartphones. And again, it should be something that is given to us, an option that is given to consumers to make it easier to make sustainable choices and at a more affordable price. So if you're interested, please check out Fairphone in the description. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more video essays. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very, very soon.